chocolate isn't the answer, could you repeat the question? Hello, I'm Pat Coakley, and welcome to Podsnack's Art of the Diet, the weekly podcast that each week tries to ask the right question about how to maintain a significant weight loss. You can access all the episodes on www.artofthediet.com. Greetings. I am going to try to record this without the sound of the leaf blower or the lawnmower in the background. Any of you who live in a condo know that once spring comes, the sound of the windblower, and then in summer, the lawnmower, it's just every day. So the birds are singing. I'm hoping that the maintenance man doesn't arrive for a few minutes. Okay, so it's June 2019. And what am I thinking about? The usual suspects. How to control eating portions, how to control the portions of what I eat, the whole 9 yards. It's all back after several, more than several actually, months of not being at all involved with worrying about food. So now it's back, and I'm doing the practical things that I usually do, like weigh every day and try to, go without this and go without that and throw things out that are triggers and all the things we all know sometimes work but don't always work. And then I came across this article. Really, I can find weight-related things anywhere, and this was an article by a Mr. Harvey, or no, not Harvey, Hanby, who is president and chief executive officer of the Auto Care Association. Okay. All right. Just when you think there are topics that have nothing to do with food, and he is talking about how the focus is on Facebook for privacy issues, and well-deserved in my opinion. I have such mixed feelings about that, tending more toward the negative than the positive. But at any rate, he has now given me a worthy award winner with Facebook with respect to privacy issues. And his point is, cars today are essentially smartphones with wheels. And the benefits are automatic braking, turn-by-turn directions, the infotainment sections. But in fact, the car makers are getting much, much more. They're constantly collecting data from our vehicles. And in fact, collect as much as 25 gigabytes of data per hour. This is according to a very famous consulting firm called McKinsey. And it's about more than performance and maintenance. And one of the things this article cites is cars not only know how much we weigh, but also track how much weight we gain. What? They know how fast we drive, where we live, how many children we have, even financial information. Connect a phone to a car, and it knows who we call and who we text. Now, the article went on to focus more on who owns and ultimately controls that data. P.S. It's not you. And what are the car makers doing with it? I couldn't get over the fact that for all the years that I didn't, well, I guess really I've been tracking my weight weekly, daily for 10 plus years. So I don't think my smartphone was connected up 11 years ago. But I'm sure there were people like me in the last 10 years who behaved like I did for most of my life, which was, I don't want to know what I weigh. But in fact, the car companies do. So the question of what these car companies do with their information, and P.S., they have made it clear that they are looking for opportunities to use this information. So if you start getting promotions or robocalls, which don't get me started on those, about new diets, it may not be because you typed into Google something about diets. It may be that you went out and sat in your seat and drove your car to the store, and the data indicated you had gained a few pounds. Now, I just lose my mind over this. I lose my mind over this. The privacy issue here, the advertising issues, the whole world of sharing information, it is really crazy. And I'm one of those people that got out of having the cable bill years ago. They have names for us now because there's so many of us, cutters or something. And now I am seriously thinking of disconnecting my car from my phone, and also really considering this whole privacy issue. It is astonishing what the outside world knows about us that we have not shared, okay? And I'm not talking about people who voluntarily use social media to say stuff about themselves. We all know that lives forever. But something like this, I guess because there's no woman alive that I don't know, weight is not an issue that you're publishing. Even people who have never had weight issues, women are not going around sharing their weight. I was watching an art documentary the other day about one of the painters that I absolutely love, Philip Guston, Guston. And he's, a painter from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And they had old footage of him coming into a exhibit of his. And this was later in his life. And he came in, and the curator of the exhibit greeted him and said, "Oh, looks like you've gained a little weight." And he very amusingly said, "Yeah, it's that airplane food that I had on the way here." But I thought to myself, there's just no way in the world a curator, a host, a friend, whatever, is greeting you with, "Oh, it looks like you've gained weight." The only person I think who would do that is you know who. And P.S., by the looks of it, he's gaining weight too. So anyway, so the whole issue of privacy is on my mind, but also the gaining weight factor is on my mind, because after losing 8 pounds, like, I'm creeping back to having gained 3 or 4 of them back. And I thought, you know what? I'm back in the game. I got to, sharpen up my tools. And that's what I'm doing. But I must say that I have less anxiety about it than other times, and I know I can do it, which is a nice confidence to begin with. But I just wanted to point out to you out there that each time you get in your car, and if your phone is connected, I think that's critical. But to tell you the truth, I think there are streams of information, and the weight of the car, in fact, may be automatically transmitted with the car data, separate from the phone. I'm a little fuzzy about that part, but hey, maybe I'll email Mr. Hanby and say, could you be specific for me and my listeners? Anyway, think about that. The other thing I wanted to share with you was so totally not like me, but I am going to share it because it really has made a difference in the past few weeks when I've been having to reconcile, okay, I'm back in the game of weight maintenance. It's not easy. It's confounding. And I think I've told you that I've done a pretty much a daily practice of using meditation, usually early morning, but midday sometimes, sometimes at night. And I've done it now, I started in July, so we're coming up on a year. Now, for me to do anything for a year is like, breaking news. People come into my house and go, what the hell are you working on now? Because I'm doing something else than when they last came in. My attention span for things is just getting shorter and shorter. However, the meditation thing has really, it began, with very small intervals, 5 minutes max, to sometimes now 60 minutes, but often more in shorter spurts, 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and smaller breathing things during the day. And what it has done for me is help me just stop obsessional thinking, worries, or just focusing on stupid things. It has helped me manage the news, my reaction to the news, which was just constantly filled, and still is, with despair, really, and dread. That's how I approach opening up a newspaper or opening up my computer. And it is the type of thing that I have to manage, because it will manage me, and it's not pretty. So I really found it helpful. Now, it had nothing to do with weight issues. My obsessional thoughts and whatnot when I first started had nothing to do with that. In fact, I wasn't, hungry at all, and didn't have any problems not eating stuff. But now that it's back, I must say that some of the meditation guidance that you're given, which is usually very simple, has had real resonance in that department. And one of the I guess it's a school of meditation, or it's a certain kind of practice. There are many different kinds that focus on the breath, or those that don't focus on the breath, or guided meditations, or just silent meditations. But I like a combination of the guidance and the silence ones. And one of the themes throughout all of them is that one has to begin again every meditation session. There's no one that goes 20 minutes just focusing on their breath, or focusing on the sounds, or focusing on what they're hearing, or just being in the moment. We're all having to return our core of attention back to our daily practice. So it's a very common saying to hear, begin again. And when I first started doing the practice, I thought, really that was my fundamental wisdom with maintaining my weight loss, was to begin again. When I would go off the reservation, instead of just giving up and going further off the reservation, I would begin again. And accountability was key for me. The initially weighing in front of another person, I had to be more accountable, because I could, negotiate myself. I could never have done the online version of a program effectively. At that stage in my life, I needed another human being on the side of that scale going, this is what it was. And it wasn't that that person cared one bit about what I weighed or didn't. I mean, she was an employee. She was just writing it down and giving me encouraging things and whatnot. It was not like she thought about it 1 second after I did, but I did. Now I don't need that. I do have my own accountability. And I noticed that one of the weight loss programs that I'm hearing about in the news now advocates a daily weigh-in, which I always thought was more helpful than waiting a whole week, because you obsessed about it. The number became exaggerated in its importance. But at any rate, neither here nor there. So when I came to the conclusion a couple of weeks ago that I had to get back into really actively thinking about it and managing the whole food intake and use of it, I was doing and redoing a meditation about kindness. And mainly, it begins with kindness towards self, and then you're supposed to be kind toward others. And God knows, I need a little of the latter. But what you don't realize, or what I didn't realize, was that the exercises that they give you to give yourself some kindness really are resonant for me. And I thought, when I was losing weight, the obsessional part of it was important, because I had to rein it in and do it day after day, week after week, month after month. But it also had a stranglehold, that whole obsessional part could be a very negative thing. And then if you were also used to beating yourself up about weight, a 2-ounce gain could just be a downward spiral. It was all exaggerated in terms of reality and how you appeared and what you wore and all that negative stuff that came with a weight issue, particularly with women in the culture that I was brought up in. And when I look out today, I don't see that great deal of a difference. I see a whole branch of folks that are saying that their weight is their weight and they accept it and they celebrate it. And I understand the need to do that and admire really people who can do it. That certainly wasn't the message that I got. And as an older woman, that, initially one of the reasons that I lost the weight was that I was fearful of my knees going and having real issues with it in terms of rehab. The consequences of bearing the weight, maybe for younger women, it's just a self-acceptance thing and a self-esteem issue. But as an older woman, when you're facing life with 60 more pounds than you should have on you, you've got bigger things to worry about than how you look. And so for that reason, I look at this fat acceptance movement with that sort of seasoned eye. I totally get that if you love yourself first, you'll probably be more effective in many things than if you're beating yourself up. But the long and the short of it is the meditation guidance that I was repeating at the same time I was restarting the food management techniques was to begin again, but with kindness. And that's why the image for this podcast is a little note that I wrote on a 3x5 card and hung up in my bathroom mirror. And it literally says, with kindness, begin again. And it sounds simple, and it is simple, but for those of us that know what it's like to be in this cycle and spiral of weight issues, kindness to ourselves is usually not on the table. And honestly, something as simple as this has this little statement has been in my head, and I thought, isn't it interesting? It has a resonance just saying those words, just saying them. So I thought I would share that with you, and maybe if you are restarting and beginning again, which I know many of us do, that you do it this time with kindness and kindness toward yourself. I've done very well with the kindness toward myself with this meditation practice. Where I totally break down is when they try to have you take someone who is really done terrible things and have kindness toward them. And I get where they're going, but I can't go with them right yet. That part of the practice, stay tuned, because I'm not there yet and I'm trying. So anyway, that's it for June. I'm hoping that you'll show yourself a little kindness if you're restarting. And I'm also, I've always been thinking that I should say this, but I never do. And I am on Instagram. I don't know if any of you use that, but it's the @ Art of the Diet. And I'm going to try to invigorate that Instagram a little bit more. I'm doing less and less Facebook, even though Instagram is owned by Facebook, so I can't get away from it. But who knows? But it is at Art of the Diet, and I have 2 other Instagram accounts too. One of them is at Pat Coakley, and the other one is at the Photo Gardener, because that's my creative arm. Anyway, I wish you well. The summer is starting where I am, and the temperature this morning was 55 degrees, so the climate, it's another thing I'm going to despair about. But not today. I'm going to have a little more kindness for myself today. I'm going to begin again, and I will never look at my car the same way again. Take care.